Welcome to the Humans Outside podcast, where we focus on heading outdoors from our perch in Alaska while hearing from fascinating outside-minded guests. I'm Amy Bouchatz, and since 2017, I've spent at least 20 consecutive minutes outside every single day. On this show, we hear from others who make heading into nature just a part of who they are too. Ready? Here we go. It's something we talk about a lot here on the Humans Outside podcast, how spending time outside can bring you back to center, teach you to sort through the tough stuff, and heal what's been busted on the road of life. There's one group of outdoor users who has been specifically focused on learning to leverage those things over the last, 20 years, our nation's veterans. As those who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan link up with those who served in the Gulf War in the 1990s and those who spent time in Vietnam, they're experiencing all of the healing nature has to offer in incredible ways. But it's not just hiking or camping. A large group of these veterans finds added solace in hunting. Marine Corps veteran Chris Mann is one of those, and today he's going to share with us the lessons the outdoors have taught him, what he sees hunting teaches others, and why you can benefit from the same. Chris, welcome to the Humans Outside podcast.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me.
So we start all of our episodes here, imagining ourselves in our guest's favorite outdoor space, just hanging out and doing whatever we do, right? Where are we with you today?
Well, if it was my ideal day, I would definitely be either in the mountains of central Washington or central Idaho, elk hunting.
Elk hunting. Awesome. And you can teach me to elk hunt while we're at it.
Perfect.
So you're a Marine Corps veteran and a hunter, as we just mentioned. So first, talk to us about your service. When and where did you serve?
Yeah, so I was in from 2004 to 2012. I was stationed in Hawaii with 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines, and then in Camp Pendleton with 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines. I did deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan throughout the years.
I have never been to Iraq and Afghanistan, but I've heard my own husband, who is also a veteran, talk about the incredible outdoor landscapes in Afghanistan, specifically about seeing the stars at night. Is that something you experienced too?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was obviously young, and it was a completely new style of mountain terrain for me. So I was up in northern Afghanistan, and I mean the high mountains. These are I New Mexico is about the closest thing I could say compared with just those rock mountains. But it was amazing. As it was with no ambient light to distract. I mean, the stars are just lit up in the sky.
And what are you doing today?
So right now I am a full-time college student up at Washington State University. I'm in my senior year pursuing degrees both in psychology and criminal justice. And when I'm not here, I guide and film hunting trips all around the country.
Why film?
It started out, it was just something, I liked. It was just something to do. But as I kind of learned and started upgrading my equipment, I started being able to kind of tell stories of a lot of the times, who I'm taking out are vets and new hunters. And it almost gave me a reason to tell their story with them in it. And it also gives a memory for them that they can look back on. If it was something, maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity for them, they can go back and, look back at it and remember those times.
Do you find that the filming of it adds a connection to the experience that you wouldn't otherwise have? I mean, both for you and for the person who's watching it later.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the filming aspect of it. It's a totally different. You have to take yourself out of the actual hunt and live in that moment through this 4-inch screen. But I also enjoy the editing side of it, getting back, looking back, and just remembering, oh man, that was a cool angle, or oh, I remember that. That's got to go in the video. and kind of building the narrative with your story. And then I'll go back and look, rewatch old videos that I cut when I'm cutting new videos and seeing what can I do different? What did I not like about this? What did I like about that?
Your organization is High Range Hunting. So talk to me a little bit more about what you do there. You said you guide it all over the country. Of course, we're up in Alaska, so and I did not see that you have done guiding up here yet. Am I wrong about that? Have you made it up?
No, not yet. You gotta get I think you have to be Alaska native to guide up there, like, or Alaska resident, not native.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I haven't made it up there to hunt yet. It's on a very short bucket list for me. Within the next probably 3 years, I'll be going up there probably to do a 14-day in the Brooks Range is kind of the plan.
Ooh, very nice.
Um, yeah, it's going to be beautiful. I've loved Alaska. It's in my opinion like that last frontier that
That
I
is what
just
they call it.
yeah, and it is. I mean, it's there's so much just unexplored and just raw nature. It's always called to me, but it's never been in the cards for me to head up there just yet. But it's
So
it's coming.
a lot of America, a lot of our world is that raw nature. I think we forget that. I think we get I kind of want to use the analogy, you see the forest for the trees, right? But in some ways, I think that that's true and that we obscure that the cities distract us. But I mean, I've driven through all sorts of the US, right? And it's wild in so many ways that are just underappreciated. Do you find that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've traveled a lot of the country with hunting and seeing, I mean, the different sides, the rural city, or not even cities, towns or villages in the Midwest, even in parts of Idaho. There's still areas that don't even have good cell service, which is surprising that, you can drive through this mountain pass and go through these little towns and then pop over the next ridge and you're driving down the hill into Boise and it's this big metropolis city.
I have driven there and I am envisioning exactly what you're talking about there in Idaho. That's funny. I've got like this mind picture of that. Because that's exactly right. It's like very arid, right? And then you're winding through the mountain and all of a sudden, boom, Boise.
Yeah, it's this little big city hidden.
Yeah. Yeah, and on a river, so it's all of a sudden, well, a lot of the year, it's all of a sudden very green, right?
Oh yeah,
You go
it's
from
beautiful
like
down there.
nothing to green. So funny. Okay, so talk to us about the hunting. Talk to us about how you got into that and why.
So I've always hunted. My dad, my grandfather, I mean, they've all hunted. I come from a family of hunters. So that was just it was in the blood. But when I got out of the military, I didn't have a lot of direction. And it was kind of my dad who pulled me back and was like, "Look, you need to come hunting." And it didn't appeal. And I was dealing with my own things. And eventually I started getting back into it, and it felt right. It was that calm, turn the cell phone off, get away, decompress. And it started out just on Instagram. I made an Instagram account, called it High Range Hunting, and it started out as just kind of a memory book for me, pictures and stuff of what I was doing. And over this was about 2.5 years ago when I really started to, take pictures and, upload what I was doing. And it took off like wildfire. It was well received. And from there, I got linked up with at the time, a nonprofit organization that's based out of Washington, but has chapters in, I think, 40 or 45 states, to include Alaska. It's called the Fallen Outdoors, and it's a nonprofit run for veterans and active duty military by veterans and active duty military. And its sole thing is just hunting and fishing. So, I mean, guys will go on and be like, "Hey, I'm going fishing here. I have 2 seats in my boat. Who wants to go?" And it's just a really good way to network and, spend some time with guys and girls who have like-minded experiences and have, similar passions. So that's where the guiding and the give back started, and I, started bringing over guys and having them come hunting with me, and realized it was something that I really enjoyed. And as my, social media was really starting to get some traction, I linked up with another vet named Ryan Bodheim, and he's filmed in the outdoor industry for years, filmed for TV shows, been on TV shows, hunts all around the country, and is has the same similar passion where we wanted to do stuff with veterans, first responders, terminally ill children, and Gold Star families.
Hmm.
And so we've really linked up, and we linked up with a third gentleman named Rob Anthony, and um, he founded his own. He got the 501c3, so we can actually fundraise and do trips all around the country now.
Very cool. How much of your time do you spend doing that instead of your business?
They go hand in hand. So the high range is more the brand, and Ryan has his social media, which is called Ryan Off the Grid,
Hmm.
and then we together have come together for High Point Adventures.
Hmm.
And so everything we're doing with our social media somehow comes back to support High Point Adventures.
So I'm in Alaska, as we've talked about, where hunting is, at least for those who lived here, less a sport and more a matter of putting food in the freezer for the year, right? Although it's certainly an enjoyable sport for many, many, many people as well. But it's, you hunt to eat in most ways, right? Um, so just like heading outside for a run or a hike can be both fitness and therapy, right? Hunting doesn't have to be either food or health. It can be both. At least that's what I found to be true. And I'm wondering if you find the same thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I used to rifle hunt a lot, and it got old for me, and so I branched out to archery. My first year archery hunting in Idaho, I was not physically fit to be climbing those mountains. We went in for a 21-day backcountry. We had our camp, our base camp, and we would go in for 4, 5, 6 days at a time, then come back out, restock, go back in. And I think I lost like 23 pounds
Wow.
just from hiking these steep northern Idaho mountains.
Yeah.
And I realized that, oh man, you got to get back in shape if you're going to do this. So the fitness aspect of it's very important. Um, Not only being physically fit, but even mentally fit. I mean, you're out there with yourself and your thoughts at that
Mm,
point.
mm.
But it's also a really good time. I think some of my favorite times are just sitting up on the hill with a buddy, my dad, anybody that I'm hunting with, and just chatting. And it doesn't even need to be like up in the mountains. Just what was it? Tuesday. I was with a first time hunter and Navy vet who won a turkey hunt. And we went up to this property, and it was just a really amazing time sitting there waiting for turkeys to come and just chatting and, learning about his experiences in life, and helping him learn more about hunting, and you know, uh, seeing his drive to learn more. And he asked good questions, and it was good conversation.
So I've talked to some veterans who don't like hunting because they're tired of killing things, which is, I think, a very gruesome um, way to refer back to service. And not accurate. I want to make sure people know that that's not accurate for many, many veterans, right? That not everyone who serves is in a position of being in, shooting or being boots on the ground. And that I don't want to create a stereotype here for veterans whatsoever. But I have heard people say that. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that. Why hunting is different. I don't know if that's your experience or something that you had to move past. But I'm wondering if we can deconflict that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own thoughts and feelings about hunting. Love it, hate it, indifferent to it. Um, I've met a few vets that were like that kind of said the same thing. I was like, all right, I mean, Well, let's find something that does interest you. Maybe, fly fishing,
Hmm.
something like that. There's always something in the outdoors that somebody can do, but they need to, in my opinion, they need to get over themselves at that point.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, I would say roughly, I don't know, maybe 20% of the military is actually, boots on the ground, kicking doors in.
I think it's more like
And
14%.
is it? Yeah. So,
Yeah,
it's
it's, like, not a
it's
big
not a
number.
lot. It's called the tip of the spear for a reason.
Right.
But and if they're having, those issues with, as saying it so roughly is, killing things, um, that's something that they're dealing with internally then. That,
Right.
there's really nothing I can do to help them with that.
Hmm.
Um, I can offer the opportunities, come, even backpacking, but a lot of what I try to, teach people and show people is that it's not about the hunt necessarily. That's, or not about the kill. It's about the experiences that lead up to that moment. All the hard work you put in, the miles you're on your feet hiking, the time you're spending with good people. That is really, in my opinion, the most important thing when it comes to the hunting trips that we do. It's the fellowship, the camaraderie, just the good times that you can remember back. Even, I've guided lots of hunts where we'll be out there for 2 days, 3 days, and don't even see a legal deer or a legal elk. It happens. It's hunting. But you could most likely go back to that person and say, "Did you enjoy your time?" And they will definitively say yes, because the people we bring around, we're not, we vet who we're taking out, because we don't want. There are some vets that are having some serious issues, and you know we have to protect ourselves. But we have noticed that people will come down, and the people that we take on trips, they still stay in touch with each other, with us, with the outfitters that we go with. So it's more than just killing an animal. It's a whole spectrum of, experiences.
It's so interesting that you say that because I was talking to my husband about our conversation before we were recording this today. And I asked him, what do you think it is that veterans like about hunting? And he said exactly what you just said, which is that it's not about the kill, it's about what leads up to it. It's almost like you coordinated. That's weird. So
Well, he sounds like a very smart man.
there you go. So, one of the things we actually do in my family is that my husband helps lead a veteran focused organization called Remedy Alpine, which takes veterans into the backcountry to have outdoor experiences, right? But focused on hiking and camping and backpacking, right? So
Awesome.
not focused on hunting. And it's just their preferred flavor of outdoor experiences, but it's the same thing, right? It's not about the destination. I mean, getting to the glacier is cool and all, right? Um, but it's not about that. It's about getting there, as cliche as that sounds.
Yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely. It's totally the experience from start to just before the end that really will leave the lasting impact.
Hey humans, just a quick break to tell you how you can support the Humans Outside podcast. Did you know we're on Patreon? Patreon allows fans like you to support the podcast through a monthly pledge. By pledging a little cash each month to support the Humans Outside podcast, you can have access to my bonus features, guides, discount codes, and an exclusive episode on, you know what? Actually, just go check it out. You'll also get my eternal gratitude, of course. Check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/humansoutside. That's patreon.com/humansoutside. Now, back to the show. So earlier when you were talking about how you got back into hunting after getting out of the military, you said that you hesitated to do that. Why?
I was just not in. I was not in a good mental state. I was dealing with some inner demons, and had just separated from the military. So that was a total culture shock. I mean, I joined a couple days after I turned 18 and I was gone
Mm.
within 30 days. I mean, it was my whole entire adult life. And so it just didn't seem like something that was in the cards at the time. Um, but once I got back into the mountain, I mean, it filled the void that I needed and enabled me to, kind of open up and let some things go and just kind of learn to enjoy myself again.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you think veterans in particular find hunting to be good for their mental health? Because earlier you mentioned that many, many, many of the people you guide are veterans, and so much of what you do now is veteran centric. And there are so many organizations that take veterans hunting and fishing. Why?
Honestly, I think it stems back to the camaraderie side of it. Yeah, I'm blessed to be up in the Pacific Northwest where we have amazing opportunities for hunting, fishing, um, just outdoor recreation in general. You understand it. You're in Alaska; it's very similar. There's salmon fishing. There's always something to do, and I think that because of where I'm located, and it's kind of even without them being vets, it would more than likely still have been either something they were raised doing. But I think the camaraderie side of it was, okay, like for duck hunting trips, we'll do, every weekend we'll bring out 3 or 4 vets who, want to come duck hunting. And I think, yeah, it's fun to shoot, ducks, but standing there in the blind during the lulls, laughing, joking, catching up, making new connections, realizing that you're not necessarily going through the same thing alone, that there's others who are dealing with it as well. I think that's the side of it that a lot of people miss once they leave the military. It's that close knit brotherhood or sisterhood that you had in the military. And that's kind of something that outdoor recreation in general, when it comes to what we do, is key.
I think that a lot of what you're describing is one of these things that if you know, you know, right? Like if you've been there, if you've experienced the solace that comes with going outside or with being in that completely isolated place that I mean, it's a universal um, understanding that you develop with people who've also experienced that, not unlike understanding service, right? But I think a lot of the people who are listening to this may not have ever had that opportunity, that perhaps their outdoor time is more city based or on a park and a where they live. Can you describe that solace for us? Can you give us some context for that and what that's like?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has it. The day-to-day hustle, the cell phone, the notifications, your phone's going off every 5 seconds. You're checking social media to see and hear what the latest gossip is or what somebody else is doing. I love going to a place where there is no cell service. Turn the phone off and just digress. I mean, I'm not necessarily a huge reader by any means, but I always take a book with me to elk camp because if we're not, if we're just sitting around camp in between hunts or something, it's really nice to, turn your brain off, read a book, just decompress. There you just it's quiet, so you hear the sounds of nature. And I don't know, there's something about it that just it's really calming to the soul, in my opinion.
I am listening to you talk and I am envisioning myself in that space.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand. Yeah, there are a lot of people. Their outdoor recreation might be going to a city park and walking on a trail next to a pond. But I mean, if you have the ability to go to the woods, go for a day, go to even if it's just a national forest campground, like an established campground, go up, take the family, you know, turn your phones off, and just kind of enjoy nature. You will come back with this refreshed attitude.
I've had a certified forest therapist on this show before, Michelle Abbey. And one of the things she talked about was the value of just spending time noticing your surroundings. And one of the practices that she developed as part of her training was going back to the same spot over and over and over again. She called it a sit spot, if I remember correctly. And purposefully noticing different things in that spot every time you're there. And there's a temptation to think that this sounds a little bit fruity, but I tried it. Okay. So I have this path behind my house that is part of a cross country running course for a local high school. Okay. So it's, yeah, it's wooded, it's fairly scenic, but I spend a lot of time going over the same exact trail because it's very, very convenient to me. And in the winter time, it's gloriously shielded from the wind. So that's a big benefit when things are like -20 outside, right? So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this and go back to the same spot every day, I might as well, make this habit of noticing things around me. And so I spent a little bit of time just one day purposefully looking down, one day purposefully looking up, and so on and so forth, and noticing those things. And I gotta say, like, that was very beneficial, and it brought me into that space in a way that I was not before because I was distracted, right? Because let me tell you what, my cell phone works perfectly well back there, right? I'm not turning that bad boy off. I've got it with me. Um, so I see such a value in that, and I want to encourage people who are listening, like, you don't have to go super far away. You don't have to go somewhere without self-service, although that certainly helps you turn it off if you don't have the access. You can just go in your own backyard and use a little bit of purposeful control to notice where you are and what's around you. Do you find that? Have you ever experienced that, Chris?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of obviously a lot of my outdoor. Anytime I'm in the outdoors, I'm usually hunting. So we have spots that we'll go to. We call them glassing spots. High points. You can see down these valleys, and it's funny you said that because every year, at least once, we'll go to this same spot, and it's so interesting to see what's changed, what trees have fallen, what new growth is coming in. Everything. It's and it is. It's very calming to just sit and stare and just be in the moment and be totally aware of everything that is around you. It's very calming.
I feel like I've described it as a brain reset, like if you did a control or alt delete on your mind and just powered that bad boy off, turned it back on again, and things were a little bit easier. That's how it feels just to have that moment of just spacing out. I find that when I'm running, I know a lot of people don't love running, and instead of thinking about nothing, they are thinking about how they cannot breathe. I totally get that. But
That's me
yeah,
100%.
that's totally fine. But I bet you are way better at hiking, and carrying heavy loads than I am. So there's that.
Hopefully.
I like to run without any load. So there you go. But I find that when I'm doing that, a lot of people find that just staring at a fire, right? Or like you said, just waiting for the hunt to get going, if that's the my non-hunting
Yeah,
vernacular.
no, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just yeah, sitting, even just sitting, being quiet, listening for anything that would not be considered like a natural sound. So, I mean, a twig breaking, something like that. It's in that moment, it's very quiet and very calm. And yeah, and you're right. Same thing with, I mean, I find myself every night I sit and I stare at our campfire and I just vegetate and just sit there almost like catatonically staring at fire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great moment. So there are a lot of organizations that help veterans in the outdoors, right? Like we've talked about. Some of our listeners may have military life experiences like you and I do, me as a military spouse and you as a service member. But many of them might not even know any veterans. Can you give us some advice on how outdoor minded folks might reach veterans and help them get outside? Because, like we talked about earlier, we don't want to have that poor veteran thing going on. We don't like that. But we also don't want the ignore that guy because he's a veteran thing. There has to be a middle ground. So, what's your advice?
Um, like you said, there are a ton of great organizations that are all about getting veterans in the outdoors. A lot of them aren't necessarily run by veterans. They're just people who want to give back. I can think off the top of my head a few really good organizations. One of them is up in Wisconsin. It's called the Horicon Duck Hunt, and the town of Oregon, Wisconsin, completely shuts down for this entire weekend, and they open their doors to this giant citywide supported veteran duck hunt. It's pretty much, I think they do like 170 or 180 vets come through. The local guides all donate up their boats. The local townsfolk, cook the meals and everything. It's a totally incredible thing that, that their city just wanted to do. The Fallen Outdoors, like I said, is a nonprofit for vets. They rely heavily on non-veteran partnership,
Hmm.
who want to take guys out, who want to do all that. And if you, I'm sorry, they can be found on their Facebook page. If you just search the Fallen Outdoors all community or community partners page, there's a whole group where you can go on, and there's teams all over the country that are doing really good things with vets, and they can always use more help. Honestly, if you want to reach out to High Point Adventures, we're always looking for people that want to help. Um, even if it's just, hey, I've got a boat and I want to take some guys fishing. Let us know. We can link people up. I've Between myself and Ryan and the Fallen Outdoors, we have a very wide net that we could find people. Yeah, just those organizations, just sending them a simple message on social media, say, hey, look, I want to help. How can I help? Easiest thing to do. They will. Eventually, some organizations are a bit slower to get back. They're very busy, but they'll get back to you. And yeah, it. What I've noticed is I've gone out and I've filmed trips where non-veterans are taking veterans on like deep sea fishing trips, and interviewing the boat captains and the first mates after that, asking them, what came about, why did you want, and it was just they just felt this urge to just, their way of saying thank you. And I think it's good for them as well. It opens, them up to these new experiences with, people who aren't necessarily their cookie cutter clients, who, might be a little weird and a little rough around the edges. But I think not even just from a veteran side, everybody can benefit from doing some sort of outdoor rec.
Hmm.
Even like I said, I'm a huge advocate for it.
So what I hear you say is if you're a civilian who wants to get involved in this is just, volunteer, right? Just get out there and put yourself out there. Um, do you, in your experience, do you find that that veterans who are involved in these organizations feel like the people who are doing the volunteering are sort of have a poor you veteran attitude? Because I think that's maybe one of the fears among veterans, but also that it's one of the reasons people don't volunteer, right? That they don't want to be seen as doing that. They don't know what the right thing to say is or do, so they don't say or do anything. Do you find that?
Right. Um, Not in my experiences. I
Hmm.
feel like, it, I suppose it would be case by case, individual person to individual person. But when we've, utilized non-veteran volunteers who have wanted to just do something, it's never been this, oh, I feel bad for these guys or this and that. It's that they are doing something that they love doing and they're sharing it with someone who may not have that opportunity all
Hmm.
the time. Case in point, we were in Texas in November. An outfitter named it's Cadillac Creek Outfitters down in Texas. They do sandhill crane, duck, and goose trips, and they are world renowned. They are very well known, and their owner Toby just wanted to do something and just give back. He didn't have this poor you mentality. It was just something that he knows that this is a specialty that he has and a passion that he has, and it was a way that he could share it with other people.
Hmm.
Um, if if you're feeling like you're gonna get, oh, he's just helping us because he feels bad for it. I honestly, I would put that thought out of your mind, because if you're worried about that person, that's like if even a 1% chance. I think anytime you volunteer, and not just to a vet, to anybody, most likely they will be appreciative, because it's a new experience for them that they might not have the opportunity to do ever.
Hmm. Hmm. That's really good advice. Thank you. So, we've come to the part of our show where we talk about some of our favorite things. I like to call it a leftovers round. So, talk to me about your favorite gear. What's your favorite outdoor gear? Can't live without.
Can't live without,
Oh,
or
man.
can't get anything done without?
Let's go with can't live without, and then we'll reserve can't get anything done without and for your most essential option.
So my can't live without must have is trail mix.
Oh, yes. I prefer
I
my trail mix to be less trail, more chocolate. What about
see,
you?
yeah. See, I am a trail mix addict. And which is why I'm so blessed to live near a Winco, because they have about 47 different trail mix options.
They really do. I do not
And
have a Winco, but I can
I will
testify.
I will go there and stock up 3 to 4 pound bags of multiple different styles. And then when I'm prepping for a hunt, I'll take a cup, put it in a freeze bag, like a airtight bag, air seal them, and I toss them. I have to have trail mix. It's just something that I want to get up to the top of a mountain after I hiked it. I want to sit there and I want to just eat trail mix. So you will always find that in my bag.
I said chocolate, but the truth is I like Swedish fish in my trail mix. Is that weird?
No, because I really love Swedish fish, because you can sit and chew on one for like 3 minutes, and then you spend another 5 minutes getting it out of your teeth.
That's right. I actually joke that my favorite fish is a Swedish red. So oh yeah, it's a salmon joke. Anyway. A very bad salmon joke, but it's a salmon
Yeah,
joke.
very bad.
I like a Swedish red. What can I say? So it's you prefer it for hunting, and hiking. I prefer my trail mix for running. But again, less trail, more fish or chocolate. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Most essential gear,
My bow, obviously. Nothing
obviously.
happens without my bow. But I think the next one is a comfortable backpack. I mean, a bag. You know, if if we're out backpack hike, we're state camping, we're carrying everything all day on our backs. And if you don't have something that fits you properly, you are going to be miserable. And then boots as well. Those are boots and bag musts.
So boots and bag, very individualized. But what do you use?
Actually, it's funny. Right before we got on this meeting, I treated myself to a brand new set of Italian Zatarain hunting boots.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I've been looking at them for about 4 years, and I've tried a bunch of different companies that every company has their, okay, this is good, this is bad, and I've always wanted to try these boots. So I pulled the trigger after I finished my final. I said, you know what, treat yourself. And so I'll let you know how I like them. I might hate them. That would be an unfortunate situation.
It
But
really
as
would.
far as as far as my bags go, I'm partnered with a company that I genuinely enjoy their bag. It's called Wilderness Packs. They're based out of the Pacific Northwest. Um, I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6'3", 270. I've got very, very wide shoulders, and a lot of the mainstream bags were too tight on the chest. And Wilderness came up with a wider pack frame, pretty much for a larger, like barrel chested individual per se. And then their bags, you can get different size custom bags that strap to these pack frames. So it's a two piece that links to one. And so I'm actually looking at my bag that's half loaded. I'm heading out turkey hunting as soon as we get off of here. Going to go spend a weekend with some great vets and do some turkey hunting. So my bags are packed.
Awesome. And it should be noted that a backpacking backpack and a bag you use as a hunting pack are two different things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the first few years that I was hunting, I was using an old Kelty backpacking bag. It was it
Mm,
was green, so it was very it was tall and tall, like, so you could, I could load it up above my head,
mm,
but it was almost too bulky. But they're very similar. I suppose if Kelty made one that was camo, it would sell very well.
mm. Yeah, no doubt. All right. Tell us, finally, if you were to close your eyes and envision your most favorite outdoor moment ever, something that you just harken back to, where are you and what are you doing?
So you want to know my favorite memory of being in the outdoors, like ever, like
Mm-hmm.
the it would probably be last year. I had a buddy call me and say that he drew a certain unit elk tag in Washington, which happened to be in my backyard. Pretty much, it's the unit right outside of the town that I grew up in. And he called me and said, "I've never shot an elk in Washington. Will you guide me?" And I filmed it all. So I mean, it really made an amazing film. But I think being there with him and seeing the raw emotion on his face after he shot his first elk. I mean, we snuck into 62 yards and he shot it with a muzzle loader, which is a black powder musket. Um, Seeing the raw emotion on his face, I think that was probably my favorite moment, at least since I've been guiding and hunting post military. That's probably my favorite moment.
Hmm. Chris, thank you so much for being on the Humans Outside podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That's it for this week's episode of the Humans Outside podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, give us a little love and leave a rating and review to make it easier for other listeners to find the podcast too. Until next time, we'll see you out there.